Hello and welcome to the Get Real Football Experts podcast. I'm your host, Louis Debe, with today another schedule rundown edition of the podcast, AFC West edition, the Denver Broncos. I did the Raiders. Dave will have the Chiefs and the Chargers. Then all we have is the AFC East left, and we'll get our playoff prediction video up for you right before the season starts. So, today we're doing again the Denver Broncos with Peyton Manning at the helm. A lot of new pieces in place with Wes Welker. They got from the New England Patriots. They signed him in free agency this off season. So now to go with Demaryius Thomas and Eric Decker is one of the best receivers in the league, and then also drafting Monty Ball in the second round as their running back. They released Willis McGahee. Also in the first round, getting a big time nose tackle / defensive tackle in Sylvester Williams from the University of North Carolina. Let's kick into it for a team that last season lost in the second round of the playoffs after clinching a first round bye, losing a heartbreaker to the Baltimore Ravens, who went on to win the Super Bowl after that huge Joe Flacco to Jacoby Jones bomb that really just crushed the Broncos altogether. So let's start it off with the Broncos. We're going to go week one where they get the rematch against the Baltimore Ravens Wednesday night, the season opener. It is at the Mile High Stadium against the Ravens, and I'm going to give this one a win, and they'll kick off to 1-0. I think they're definitely looking for revenge against the Ravens, which is a very different team. The Ravens are probably going to have around 4 or 5 rookies starting on the defensive side, which is just going to be too much change to stop Peyton Manning in this another year into this Denver Broncos offense. I just don't think the Ravens really stand a chance defensively. I think the Broncos are going to really attack that secondary, and as well, I mean, I think it's going to be just tough for the Ravens with all these young guys. I think the Broncos start off 1-0. I think a lot of people, pretty much everybody, has the Broncos winning this game. I do not think the Ravens will get the best of them again. With all the new changes, that will take some time for them. So week 2, they're away against the New York Giants. It's the Manning Bowl. The brothers take each other on, and I think that Peyton's going to get the best of Eli here, and the Broncos will improve to 2-0. Eli Manning does have 2 more rings, but I just still think Peyton Manning's the better quarterback. It's going to be. I think this is going to be an offensive battle with the Giants' explosive offense with Victor Cruz and Hakeem Nicks, plus Dave Wilson as the new running back to go with Andre Brown, and also Brandon Myers, a great pickup at tight end. But I think that their offensive line, losing David Bass to an injury, is going to be a tough one. Justin Pugh, their first-round pick, will be starting at right tackle. That's kind of a tough adjustment. I think it's going to be the Broncos getting the win. The Giants' secondary, I feel like every single year is a question mark, and I think that they're just not going to be able to stop Demaryius Thomas, Decker, and Wes Welker. So Peyton Manning's going to have a field day. Both Mannings are going to have a field day because both secondaries are very weak. But I give the advantage to the Broncos, and they'll start off 2-0 to start the season. And they're heading into week 3 against the division rival. They're home against the Oakland Raiders. Again, this division is probably going to be pretty easy for the Broncos to breeze by, except for the Chiefs, who I think are going to compete. I'm not so sure about the Chargers yet. And the Raiders are in the rebuilding process of this where they're at so far as a franchise. I think that the Broncos are going to get an easy win, 3-0. I think Monty Ball or Ronnie Hillman or Noshawn Moreno, whoever's being in that running back by committee, is going to have a big day against the Raiders, who have a very weak defensive line after losing Richard Seymour and Desmond Bryant, the defensive tackle. So, I mean, they lost a lot of pieces, the Raiders did, and I think the Broncos are just going to have an easy win, plus not much to stop on the Raiders' offense besides Darren McFadden. Matt Flynn's the new quarterback, and really not that many big-time weapons. They lost Brandon Myers to New York, so I think Peyton Manning is going to have an easy day, and the Broncos' defense will get away with one here, I think, against a very weak Raiders offense. So the Broncos will start off 3-0 heading into week 4 against the new-look Eagles. They're in a 2-game home stretch against Michael Vick, who was named the starter yesterday, and the new Eagles. I think they're going to win this game and improve to 4-0 on the season. It's going to be tough for the defense, definitely. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game because of the new no-huddle, fast-paced offense for the Eagles. And the Broncos' defense is, I think, are really going to struggle to stop them. They lost Joe Mazel, middle linebacker, to the Houston Texans, so expect LeSean McCoy to have a big day running the football. Sylvester Williams is going to have his hands full here. This is going to be a game to really test him. He faces some good running backs in these next couple of games. and starting off with LeSean McCoy. But I think the Broncos are going to get the win, and it's based on the Eagles' defense not being able to stop the Broncos and Peyton Manning. The Eagles have a brand new defense with a bunch of different starters, with Patrick Chung and Kerry Williams and Bradley Fletcher and all these new guys and a new 3-4 scheme. It's going to take some time for them to adjust with the new scheme. I think the Broncos get a high-scoring win, which I think they're going to be in a lot of high-scoring games due to this defense that I really just don't believe in. But I think with Peyton Manning, I think he's just going to be able to outscore all these teams. So week 5, they're away against the Dallas Cowboys, where they get handed their first loss of the season. It's a tough place to play in Dallas, of course, with those fans at the Jerry Jones's place. I think they'll drop to 4-1 here. It's an upset because I think the Broncos really could almost win every. I mean, people are projecting them sure to win almost every game, but I think that they're going to lose this one. I think Tony Romo with Dez Bryant and Miles Austin and Jason Witten is a pretty big test for that Broncos secondary with Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie as the new opposite corner to Champ Bailey. So I think that's going to be a test, definitely. I think that's the key. But also DeMarco Murray, if he's healthy, is really going to be a tough one to stop, again, for the Broncos, as shown that they face a lot of good running backs in this stretch. I think that with the defensive side, the Cowboys are very strong. Sean Lee's going to be coming back from injury. So the Broncos, what they need to do here to really beat them is attack Morris Claiborne, because obviously Brandon Carr's a very good corner, but I think the key is to go after the young Morris Claiborne. So, I mean, I think that if they can do that, I mean, they're going to be pretty good. They have really good receivers. I don't know if the Cowboys have enough to stop the receivers. But again, another high-scoring game. I think that's going to happen. There's a lot of high-powered offenses. The Broncos have a pretty tough schedule, honestly. But I think they'll drop this one and fall to 4-1 in the season. Week 6, they're home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Need I say more? 5-1. Week 7, they're away against the Indians. And I'm so sorry, Jaguars fans, but when you don't have a reliable quarterback at the helm, I guess they have good pieces with Cecil Shorts and Blackman and Maurice Jones-Drew, which will probably have a big game against the weak Broncos defense. Not saying the Broncos defense is weak, honestly. Don't call me out on that, because I personally think they have a lot of talent on the side, but I just think they might struggle a bit with some new pieces. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But again, with the Jaguars, I mean, with the defensive side, Paul Posluszny's a good player, but you don't have a quarterback, and that's the most important position in the league. So there's no way they can compete with Peyton Manning here in this game. So week 7, they're away. Probably one of the biggest games of the season, storyline-wise. Peyton Manning returns to Indianapolis against the Colts in Lucas Oil Stadium against Andrew Luck and those Colts. Wow, this is going to be a great game. It's going to be tough. I mean, can you imagine if Peyton Manning comes in there and loses to the Colts? I'm sure there's going to be mixed. I don't think there will be mixed emotions in the crowd. I think they're going to give Peyton Manning a standing ovation, as they gave the Indianapolis their first ever championship in 2006 against the Chicago Bears, which I'm sure we all remember that game. I think the Broncos are going to win this. It's a huge game for Manning. He's going to carry it all on him. It's going to be a pretty good game, but the Colts defense is it struggled last year, and I think it didn't really do a lot to improve. I mean, they got a good pass rusher to replace Dwight Freeney and Bjorn Werner from Florida State, but other than him, I mean, Vontae Davis is a very good corner. Don't get me wrong, but other than that, they have a weak secondary. They didn't do much to address that. They got Rodgers from the Cardinals, a former corner that was, I believe, a slot guy. But I think the Broncos are going to win this game. I think that the Colts do not have a strong interior defensive line, which could help the Broncos running backs. But Andrew Luck and Reggie Wayne, I'm sure, are going to give... Well, that's probably going to be... I'm going to give that the key matchup. Champ Bailey versus Reggie Wayne. That's going to be a fun matchup to watch. As Reggie Wayne almost signed with the Broncos. He almost joined Peyton Manning last year, but decided to stay with the Colts. And I think the Peyton Manning and the Broncos will improve to 6-1, coming off a huge win. Not only for the standings, of course, but just the storyline is really big. It would really be tough for Manning to come and go into the city he built. Not literally, of course, but and lose that game. So they're going to improve to 6-1 heading into Week 8. Halfway through the season, they're going to be home against the Washington Redskins. So far, they are 2-1 against the NFC East. I think they're going to fall to 2-2 in that sense. I think that They'll lose to the Redskins and drop to 6-2, and it's not because of the Redskins defense, which is very good with Kerrigan and Arakpo and London Fletcher, but because I definitely think the Broncos are going to score points against that secondary, which is to me one of the weakest in the league. It's because of the read option for RG3. I do not know how the Broncos are going to be able to stop that. RG3 is going to be healthy by this time. He has a good receiver in Pierre Garçon and Josh Morgan. And also Fred Davis becoming healthy. I don't know who's going to cover him for the Broncos, as they have a weak linebacking core now, losing Joe Mays, who was a very underrated piece to that team last season. But I think RG3 is going to go after them with Alfred Morris as well. They're going to have a big game, and I think they're going to pull off the upset and improve. And the Broncos will fall to 6-2 heading into the Week 9 bye. It's a very good record, of course. But we'll see where they go schedule-wise. I'm definitely making the playoffs. We'll see if they can get the first round bye like they did last year when they finished 13-3 after winning 10 games in a row, which was incredible. So, heading into Week 10, another division matchup their way against the San Diego Chargers. I don't think the Chargers are ready to compete with them. They lost Melvin Ingram, their first-round pick last year, a pass rusher, a linebacker, as he tore his Achilles or ACL. I'm not sure which one it was, but he's out for the season. Manti Te'o's the new middle linebacker. They also lost Sean Phillips to the Broncos. So Sean Phillips will be returning to San Diego, where he did a lot of damage there. A very productive Charger pass rusher, and that might be a big one. Go after if you can make Peyton Manning uncomfortable with that weak offensive line, with King Dunlap as your one tackle and first-round pick DJ Fluker out of Alabama as your other. It's a brand new offensive line. I think the Broncos, with Von Miller, who will be back from his suspension, who, by the way, just yesterday was suspended for 6 games for a substance abuse policy, and him and Sean Phillips could have a big day against those two young. King Dunlap's not young, but not very proven in this league. Offensive lineman. Make Phillip Rivers uncomfortable. I mean, he lost Denario Alexander to a torn ACL. A young, brand new receiving core with also Ryan Matthews in the backfield. It should be an easy win, and I think the Broncos will improve to 7-2. Heading into Week 11, where they're home against the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid and Alex Smith are the new people in town. The Chiefs are definitely going to compete for a wild card spot, but I think that it's just too tough of a place right now in Mile High Stadium. It's going to be getting cold around here, around Denver, when it is Week 11. So it's going to be getting colder. I think the Broncos will win this at 8-2. But again, they're going to have a really, really tough time stopping Jamal Charles. I think he's going to have a huge game. But what the key is for the Broncos offense. The Chiefs have a very good defense with Eric Berry. They have a strong secondary with Brandon Flowers and Sean Smith, who they got from the Dolphins, who I think is a very underrated pickup for them. It's going to be, honestly, I think a tough game. I think it's going to be actually a low-scoring game. I think the Broncos' defense might have to pull out a win because of how good the Chiefs' defense is, with Derek Johnson as well linebacking. I guess you could say the middle of the defensive line is the weakest for the Chiefs, with Dontari Poe as the new guy, but also with the pass rushers Justin Houston and Tamba Ali. Very tough defense, but Peyton Manning's gonna have to win you one here. To me, one of the keys is the tight ends. I want to see more out of the tight ends with Joel Dreesen and Jacob Tamme. Maybe some good red zone production out of them. Run the football. I think that's gonna be the key here with Monty Ball or Ronnie Hillman. I think Knowshon Moreno could have a big game against here. I think he fits well against that defense. I think Knowshon Moreno, he's the most proven back out of all three of them. I think, honestly, he might have the most productive season. That's just my thing. I think Ronnie Hillman's the more change of pace back, and Monty Ball's the grind it into the ground, up the middle kind of guy. But maybe if he doesn't turn out, Knowshon Moreno, he showed that last year. He really came out of nowhere last year, coming off the Willis McGahee injury, and really impressed me. And many football players, many analysts as well. And I had him on my fantasy team. Boom, helped me win the championship. But let's move on from that. They get the win and start off. Then they are now 8-2. Heading into Week 12, the old rivalry between Peyton Manning and Tom Brady continues. They're at Foxborough. I think they'll win this game at 9-2. Last year, Tom Brady got the best of Peyton Manning. I'm not so sure this time with Tom Brady losing Aaron Hernandez. Rob Gronkowski's injured, but I'm sure he'll be back by now. He lost Wes Welker, did gain Danny Amendola. It's a brand new wide receiving core. I think the Broncos will catch a break from there. But of course, Tom Brady's Tom Brady. If they really need to take out Stephen Ridley. If they can take out Ridley and Vereen, I think they'll be all right here. but the Patriots have a very underrated defense with Gerard Mayo, Brandon Spikes, and Donta Hightower, probably the best trio of linebackers in the league, I personally believe. And they had a steal in the free agency pickup. Not a lot of people know about the remember, but they signed Adrian Wilson, the veteran safety from the Cardinals, a hard hitting guy, to go next to Devin McCourty. With Aqib Talib on one side and Kyle Arrington, a pretty strong defense. And Chandler Jones on pass rushing, obviously wins Vince Wilfork. But I think that I think Peyton Manning's going to win a tight game. The defense is going to have to come up with a late stop. It's going to be a close one. They'll get the win and improve to 9-2 heading into Week 13, where they're away against the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think the Chiefs are going to split. I don't. I do believe they're going to split. I'm sorry, looking at the wrong thing. The Chiefs are going to win this game and improve to 9-3. Arrowhead Stadium, to me, is a very underrated, tough place to play. That's my opinion. I think that a lot of people are saying, of course, Philly's a tough place to play in New York, and a lot of rowdy fans there in Buffalo and Cleveland. But Kansas City's got some rowdy fans, and the way their stadium's built, that's a tough place to play. And for all the reasons I said last time they faced, with all those weapons on defense and offense, Chiefs are going to pull out a big win. They're going to need to split against the Broncos if they want to compete for the division or even make the wild card spot, that last spot, because to me, the 5 belongs to the Indianapolis Colts. So, of course, I'm not gonna say yet because we don't have our playoff video up. We'll have that again up this week. I'll put in my plug-in, and the Broncos will drop to 9-3. I think they're gonna have so far in the division. They're one. Sorry, I'm doing this off the top of my head. They're 3-1, so that's a very good record. I think that might be where they could stand if they can only be handed one loss in the division. They're in a great spot to get a first-round bye. Where Week 14, they're home against the Tennessee Titans. Jake Locke and Chris Johnson, big pieces of the offense, but the defensive side of the Titans are brand new. They lost Will Witherspoon, Jason McCourty still in the secondary, with Bernard Pollard coming over from the Ravens, and also George Wilson from the Bills. It's a young and brand new defense, and I think the Broncos are going to have they're going to have a field day against these Titans. I'm sorry for Titans fans, but the Broncos will win and improve to 10-3. They're going to have to get the easy teams out of the way, and I think they'll do that. So Week 15, they're home against the San Diego Chargers. Chargers are not going to beat the Broncos this year. I'm sorry, they're just not going to. The Broncos are going to sweep the Chargers. They're at home at 11-3. And I want to get into this Week 16 matchup where they're away against the Houston Texans. Probably one of the biggest matchups of the year. This could really decide who gets a first-round bye for playoff seeding wise, and it's a fun one. It's in Houston, which is always a tough place to play. Arian Foster at running back. Matt Schaub is another year proven. Let's see if he can take that next step as the Texans quarterback, with Andre Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins hoping to emerge at receiver. And then on the Broncos side, need I say more about their offense? This is going to be a really fun game to watch, but also a tough Texans defense. And this is the difference making, is the Texans defense is much better than the Broncos, with J.J. Watt, Jonathan Joseph, Ed Reed, who's coming over from the Ravens, and Brian Cushing coming back, which might be the difference between them taking that next step and trying to compete for a Super Bowl. The Texans are going to win this, and the Broncos will drop to 11-4. A tough game, but I think the Texans are going to pull it out. They're going to get a much-needed win, a big win in the AFC playoff seeds. Week 17, the Broncos are away against the Raiders. Bigger game than you would think. I don't think they are. I do not think they'll rest their starters, including Peyton Manning, because they want to get that bye. And I think they're going to win. They'll beat the Raiders. They'll improve to 12-4. I think the Raiders almost want to lose this anyway and go get that first overall pick and take either Javon Clowney or Teddy Bridgewater, whoever they want. But I think if they get the first overall pick, of course, because sorry Jaguar fans, but you might be in there as well. I keep going after the Jaguars. I'm sorry, Jags fans. I'm sure. Most Broncos fans are listening to this, but the Broncos will finish off at 12-4. Last year, one game worse than last year at 13-3, but they have a much tougher schedule this year than they did last year. They will get another division crown, in my opinion, and maybe a first round bye. They're 12-4, but the Texans are 12-4 last season. I'm not sure exactly where Dave had them. We're going to form it all up. Even if they don't, I think if they're the third seed, I don't think that though, because I think the Patriots are going to be the third seed, because I think the Broncos are going to be better than them this season. Plus, they have the win against the Patriots for a tiebreaker, I'm sure. So I think the two top seeds will be the Broncos, Texans, but we'll see how we have it seeded up in our playoff prediction video. So again, final record is 12-4. Thanks for joining me here on the Get Real Football Experts podcast. I'm your host again, Louis DB. Follow me on Twitter at DB Sports Talk for all your NFL updates. Check me out more. Me and Dave on YouTube at youtube.com/NFL Experts. Also check out my blog at eaglesportstalk.blogspot.com. Follow my partner Dave Kress for all your NFL updates at Dave Kress Sports. And also we have a big partnership coming up that I will not mention yet. As of right now, we're going to stick with what we have, but a huge announcement coming up. If you want to find out what that is, go to eaglesportstalk.blogspot.com. Becoming the next Bleacher Report. That's just your hint. Again, the playoff video will be up this week, right before the season starts. We're going to wrap up our schedule rundowns. Thanks so much, football fans. Have a great week. Preseason week 3 is underway. This is going to be a fun way to. Really, it's a good way. This is probably your biggest tease of football, regular season football, with all the starters playing throughout the first half. So, again, thanks football fans for watching, and have yourselves a great NFL week.